Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Hope you're doing well. We've got your latest Manchester United news, transfer news and chat coming up for you over the next 45 minutes or so. But we're going to start off with Pogba and Sancho staying at their respective clubs. Pogba at Manchester United, Jadon Sancho at Dortmund. This is not paper talk, this is verbal talk from people who, a representative of Dortmund saying that Sancho's going to stay. And Adnan Januzaj who says, I've known Pogba for years. We're in the youth setup together. We're very close friends, and I think that he's going to stay at Manchester United. So we'll talk about that. And I think that we'll start off with the story that's probably more on people's minds, which is coming from Sebastian Kell, I think his name is. He's the head of player development or something like that at Bayern Munich, at Borussia Dortmund, and he said that he expects Sancho to stay next year at Borussia Dortmund. Now, again, you can tell I'm not panicking, I'm not ranting, I'm not stressed, I'm not worried at all because. Look, we've quoted this a few times as well. Obviously, the United Stand, we go to the away games. We go out to the away games in Europe. We were in the press conference in Austria, and Flex actually got to ask a question of Ollie, and he asked him about Pogba, and Ollie said, you can expect to see Pogba at United next season. Well, now you've got someone from Dortmund saying you can expect to see Sancho at Dortmund next season. And what did I say about the expectation of Pogba and the expectation and what the word expectation means? You know, expecting something. You can expect something doesn't mean they're confirming anything. An expectation, is that you're going to wake up on Christmas morning and you're going to get a Sony PlayStation 5 when actually you're going to get a framed picture of it. Your expectations don't always get realised. And I think that, look, Dortmund expect Sancho to be a player of Dortmund next season. I understand that statement because unless they get the offer that they want, and maybe they're not expecting that offer. I mean, look, the reality is what Dortmund are basically saying in a public way today is we expect Sancho to be a player of Dortmund next year because we don't expect anyone's going to pay the 100 million we want. That's the situation. And that's ball in your court, Manchester United. So they're just saying that we don't expect anyone to pay the price. We already know that Sancho wants to go. We already know that Dortmund will let Sancho go if the price is right. So it's the ball's in United's court. So I'm comfortable with that, and I'm not concerned that statement that they expect him to be a player next year because it doesn't mean that they're confirming that he's going to be a player next year. So I'm not concerned about it. I don't want to spend loads of time talking about Sancho again. I think that their expectation that he's going to be next year doesn't mean it's a reality. But also, you've then got to look at the Pogba situation. And when Ollie says you can expect Pogba to be at Manchester United next season, well, we can expect it, but it doesn't mean that it necessarily will happen. I think in the case of Pogba, it's going to happen. I think the Pogba situation and the Sancho situation is very different. I think Sancho wants to go this summer and there's a buyer for him. I think Pogba wants to go this summer and there's not a buyer for him, so he'll be waiting until next year. So I think that Pogba will be at United next season. Whether he'll be there beyond that, I don't know. And obviously with Adnan Januzaj, formerly of United, coming out saying that he thinks that Pogba will stay. I think we're going to get to that point, and I think we do need to get to that point as well. And welcome to Kevin Latham, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. We do need to get to that point where we know Pogba's staying next season, ASAP. I don't expect him to sign a new contract, and I do expect him to leave next summer. But it would be nice to get a confirmation very soon that he's staying next season from Pogba, Riola, whoever, because I don't really want to be. I think the circus around Pogba is quite unentertaining, so I would like that to get resolved ASAP. Big glass of gin, that, Goldie, says Sean Williams. That's water, because I've got a proper drink as well, which I'll have some of in a minute. So please smash a like on the video if you're watching. There is something I did want to talk to you about tonight, though. I saw Gary Neville talking about this, and I think a lot of people have been talking about it. And Gary Neville was sort of like saying, well, look, why are people obsessing about Pogba and Bruno? Ryan Curley says, great video on Pogba and Bruno, proper analysis. If you've not watched that video, it's on the homepage. I think it's called the Pogba and Bruno Dynasty. It's 7 minutes, just watch it. But there has been, I think that explains it really well, how Pogba and Bruno can work together. But I think too much time is being focused on how you fit Pogba and Bruno into the team. And I think it's a broadsheet mainstream media story, really. Oh, how's he going to do it? How's he going to do it? Well, I think the more interesting thing is who's going to play them, which I'll talk to you about in a moment. But Pogba and Bruno definitely can play together. And like Gary Neville said, did people obsess about De Bruyne and David Silva playing together? No, they didn't. They just allowed Pep to get on with it. So why are people obsessed about how you pick Pogba and Bruno together? But I have shown you something in the week, and I'm going to show you two things now that, it's a very it's a very small sample thing, but it does show you how these two players can play together. So I showed you this the other day. This is Bruno's 4 assists in a Manchester United shirt. And basically what you're looking at is the Bruno's, where he is when he plays the assist. The goal, the yellow line is the pass. The ball is where the goal goes in from, the shot. But there you can see a corner, a right winger, and a sort of advanced left player, right? That's Bruno's last 4 assists for Manchester United. So you can see where Bruno operates well in that final third around the edge of the penalty box. That's where Bruno is at his most dangerous. And his goals are pretty much around that sort of area, aren't they? I think Everton was sort of near where that number 2 is. So, yeah, Bruno's very good in that final third. Now, if you look at Pogba's last 4, I think, in fact, we've got his last 5 assists out here. So that's Bruno's last 4 assists for United. This is Pogba's. 2 of them are from his own half, deep. One of them was against Chelsea, which actually the ball was a little bit more central. I just didn't want it to get confusing. But where Pogba passes it from, he's in his own half, down the middle against Chelsea, opening day, Rashford scores. The other one from his own half was against Spurs at Wembley, from his own half, across to Rashford, takes a touch and scores. Then you've got 2 where Pogba is in the middle of the pitch there, where he basically identical balls to Lukaku against Bournemouth and Rashford against Leicester, where they score at the edge of the box. And then there's another one where he's on the edge of the box and he passes it out wide to Ashley Young, who scores. So what you see with Pogba is, yes, he can play more advanced, but actually Pogba's doing the most damage from within his own half to about halfway along the offensive line. So if I move Bruno up here, there's Bruno's assists, which are all very much in the final third. And then there's Pogba's assists, which are all over the place, but a lot deeper. So you can see that they are going to work together very, very well, because Bruno will play very advanced, but Pogba can do so much damage from the deeper areas as well. So I think that demonstrates, if you look at Bruno's assists and Pogba's last 5 assists, Bruno will be damaging in that close around the penalty box area, but Pogba can do things from deep that I think are going to be really important as well. Love the Pogba Bruno video, very interesting analysis. Statman Mark, says Joshua Bowater. Yeah, I don't want to be a twat man really, but there you go. He isn't necessarily better deeper, says Bonk. I think he is. You know, that's your opinion, and I think that people get obsessed about Pogba being an attacking midfielder when he's never really played there. You know, these sort of things sort of irritate me really, because it's just people plucking with something that doesn't actually exist. It's a myth. Paul Pogba can play as an attacking midfielder, but it's not really his position. But if you go back and watch the opening game of the season against Chelsea, or you watch that Spurs game, or you watch the goals that he sets up for Lukaku and Rashford, he's brilliant at finding space out of nowhere around the centre circle. That's not Bruno's game. Bruno's around the edge of the box, Pogba around the centre circle. And that's why I think they will complement each other very well. Pogba himself has never said he wanted to leave, says Rachel Speck. Well, he pretty much has. And do you expect Bruno to be our penalty taker after he took it over Rashford, Pogba and Martial against West Brom? Says Michael Sauter. Yes, I think Bruno will be our penalty taker. He didn't really play as an attacking midfielder for Juventus at all, Brave Star. That's not how the Juventus midfielder... I wish people would actually go and do their proper research. Bruno plays as an attacking midfielder off the striker, more or less. Pogba's never really played that position. You know, if you took it as a percentage for his career, I bet it's not even 10%. So, you know, people just want to turn Pogba into something that he's not. Yes, he can play as an attacking midfielder. Yes, he's played there. But the vast majority of his career, whether it be for France, Juventus, Manchester United, is not in that position. So I don't really get where the mantra is going with this. I don't really get where the agenda is with Pogba as an attacking midfielder. Are there actually people out there who think we should drop Bruno for Pogba? Because you're mad. You're absolutely mad. We're going to have one of the best attacking midfielders in Europe in Bruno, and we've got one of the best box-to-box midfielders in Pogba. They complement each other perfectly. I don't get what people are trying to put Pogba into an attacking midfield, because you'll lose so much. Like I don't know whether people actually watch Paul Pogba play. I've said this before over years, so I'm not jumping around here. I've always been very, very consistent. Paul Pogba's one of the only midfielders I know in the last 20 years who, when he gets the ball, can carry the ball and dribble past somebody. Naturally, you want to be doing that from a little bit deeper so that you can show off that ability. He's also got one of the best long-range passing games in world football. what's the point of having Paul Pogba stood on the edge of the box doing little intricate passes when he's got a long-range passing accuracy and creativity better than most players in world football, and he can drive with the ball, and he's also tall. So this is another reason why Pogba's very important around the centre circle rather than the edge of the box, because his height is a big asset as well for goal kicks from De Gea, but also for goal kicks from the opposition goalkeeper. When he's around that middle of the pitch, his height is an advantage. I think people get really, really arsey about Pogba playing as a midfielder when that's what his position is. Mark, just seen a classic United game from 2011. Sir Alex Ferguson used a 4-2-3-1 with Rooney behind Berbatov a lot past 2010. Do you think Ollie is copying Sir Alex? Maybe, Shalandra, maybe he is. Saying, Mark, what happened against West Brom? Please play better against Spurs. Well, we beat them 4-3 over 2 60-minute games. And have a gut feeling Spurs are going to have a Thiago Silva next season. They're skint and seems like a Mourinho signing. Oh, they're going to sign Thiago Silva. I thought you said they're going to have a Thiago Silva. Joshua Bowwater there. Thoughts on a 4-3-3 with Fred, Bruno and Pogba, says Nikon. Well, you know what? Just on this, I'm going to talk about this, but just on this Fred thing for a moment. I saw something today, and I don't know, I think I mentioned it on this morning, didn't I? On the morning show, that Fred has more, let me get the wording right. Fred has got more, wins more defensive duels than Ndidi and Kante. He's the best in the league. So it is somewhat, I just don't, I've always said go with Matic, Pogba and Bruno. But I've changed my mind. And this is it. Call me a flip-flop, whatever. But I've changed my mind based on I don't know how you can drop Fred. And I think in Fred, we finally got the player that I always wanted. Or he can be that player, that tenacious little quick player. A bit like a Kante. But look, it's really interesting. I've pulled three bits of information for you here because it's going to be Pogba and Bruno, I think. So who do you play with those two? Interceptions per game average 5.7 for Fred, so he's the winner. Matic is 5.2 and McTominay's 4.93. So interceptions for Fred, he's miles ahead. 5.7 to Matic's 5.2 to McTominay's 4.93. So Fred is averaging more interceptions per game, which again shows he's more tenacious than those two in going getting the ball, which is what we want. And he's more mobile than those two. Duels won, McTominay 60%, Matic 59%, Fred 55%. Passing accuracy, McTominay 82%, Fred 59% and Matic 56%. I mean, McTominay's passing accuracy is ridiculous at 82%. So, if you want somebody who's going to be really good at passing, McTominay, who can also do a bit of tackling and has got a great engine. If you want somebody who's just an all-rounder, Matic, and has got the experience, or if you want somebody a bit more mobile who makes more tackles and actually isn't too bad with their passing, Fred. I'm Team Fred. I think we're all going to be very different, but I'm actually Team Fred. I think it should be Fred, Bruno and Pogba. That's my midfield. I was going with Matic, but I just don't see how you can drop Fred. And some people are saying a lot of McTominay's passes are sideways. Well, yeah, it doesn't differentiate on that. But I to be honest with you, I don't see how Matic and Fred can be dropped. At the end of the day, Fred's getting dropped because of a virus. And I'm not talking about Pogba. I just realised what I'd said there. He's getting dropped because of coronavirus. If we hadn't gone into lockdown, there's no way Fred would have got dropped. Never in a million years would he have got dropped. So I just don't think Fred deserves to be dropped. I don't think that Matic deserves to be dropped. But I think I just want Fred to play. Fred's better connection with Bruno, says Rasmus Malmgren. And Sean Turner, I think Matic starts. He does that holding midfield role perfect, breaks up the play, more physical. I'd prefer Matic. Yeah, I get it. And I get anybody who goes with McTominay as well. But for me, it's Fred. I think having seen, and I'm not a big one for stats, but when he's got better stats than Ndidi and Kante, I think, well, we've got that player I've always wanted then. Let's just play Fred. And maybe Fred can become the CDM we need. Pogba's a great CDM with McTominay or Fred, not with Matic though. Pogba needs an engine ball winner with him, looking forward to seeing football we love, says Pete Squire. And I sort of agree, Pete. I think Pogba does need an engine next to him And I don't think... I'd have to look back at that. I don't know whether Matic and Pogba have ever been that good together. But I'm Team Fred. I am. I'm going to give Fred the shout he deserves and the backing he deserves, because he is our player of the year after Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and I just don't think he deserves to be dropped. And he does nick the ball away a lot, says Don Snaps as well. So, yeah, I mean, Kante hasn't played much this season, G-Sing, but Ndidi is considered to be the best CDM in the league. Let's just get the win against Spurs and Sheffield. Should be sorted for top 4, says Mojo. They are 2 very, very big games, as I think we're all looking forward to. Fred works better with Fernandes because of the nationality and how they are both quite skillful, says Rowan Smith. And Mark, let's get Zayn to buy Manchester United and the Woodward. What's Zayn saying now? Has he said anything? Mark, if Fred is world class, why doesn't he play for Brazil? Martinelli is already in the Brazilian squad. Well, he was in the squad, Fred. He was in the squad for a long time, and then he got kicked out, didn't he, because he wasn't playing for United. Neil Farmer says, it's disappointing because I don't think he showed us any respect at all. To be honest, I'm happy that he's away. Sir Alex on Pogba in 2012. Nothing has changed. Shame we can't sell. Long live Bruno. That's a quote from Sir Alex there, from Neil Farmer. Interesting. I mean, well, there was an interesting thing today as well about Pogba from Tim Sherwood. I actually had somebody on Twitter telling me today that Tim Sherwood's a better manager than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think Tim Sherwood's great at stating the bleeding obvious, to be honest with you. But he came out and said, if I'm Manchester United manager, I'm giving Pogba the captaincy so he stays at United. And I'm like, wow, how are you not in a job, Tim? With management foresight like that, how are you not employed as a manager? I'd give Pogba the captaincy so he'd stay at Manchester United. I mean, at the end of the day, I think Pogba will only stay at Manchester United if we build a team around him, not put a piece of Velcro around his arm. I mean, it's just, some people come out with stupid statements and they get paid to do it. If I was Man United manager, I'll give Pogba the captaincy. I'll take it off Harry Maguire because he's just happy to be there, and I'll give it to Pogba. It's like walking into a bloody someone's marriage, isn't it? And saying, "Oh, Harry, we're nicking your wife and we're giving it to Pogba. You're just happy to be here anyway, aren't you? Yeah, I'm dancing to Jive Bunny. You know, Harry Maguire's the captain. You don't take the captaincy off Harry Maguire to give it to Pogba in case he might stay." And I just think people spurt verbal diarrhea because that is, I mean, as if Ollie hasn't even thought about that. But imagine the dressing room disruption you would get by the minute Paul Pogba comes back. You give him the captaincy. He's been out all season. His agent's been slagging the club off all season. And then you just hand him the captaincy in the hope he goes, "Oh, I'll stay." He don't get that captaincy until he signs a 4-year contract, Tim. Tim, nice but dim. I mean, you know, if I was Man United captain, if I was Man United manager, I'd just give him the captain to make him stay. No. Sign the contract and then we'll talk about the captaincy. Show your commitment to the club before we give you something that you know that we need to trust you for. And I want Pogba to stay, but you don't give him the captaincy so that you hope he's going to stay. Harry Maguire's the captain, and Paul Pogba needs to earn that back. You know, this is Manchester United Football Club. I rate Pogba. I think he's absolutely fantastic. Do I trust that he wants to stay at the club at the moment? No. Will I back him and talk about him having the captaincy if he signs a new contract? Yes. Mark, a top 4 finish along with FA Cup and Europa trophies. How would you rate the season? If we get top 4, we win the Europa League, I'm happy. Very, very happy. Yeah, I don't even care about the FA Cup. If we win the Europa League and we get top 4, that's a fantastic season as far as I'm concerned. Joshua Bowwater, I'm sure Paul Robinson will agree. Fred just suits Ollie's style of play to a T. And that rhymes as well, Josh. It rhymes as well. Maguire should not be a captain. 4 relegations on his name, says Alexander Janus. Well, you've had your say. I'm not going to reply. Can you show us your current dream lineup for the Spurs game, says Benjamin. Well, my current team at the moment, and I'm sure it's going to change because it's changed in the last 48 hours, and that's the whole thing. My current team at the moment is De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, Luke Shaw, back 4. Fred and Pogba as the 2. Bruno ahead of them. Martial up front. Rashford on the left. And I'll go with Dan James on the right. That's my team. I don't think he's going to pick that team, but that's my team. Bruno will be captain if Maguire is out. 100%, says Pete Squire. Flex47 says, smash a like. Let's see if we can get to 1,000 while we're live. And I think Pogba needs a role that he can drive the ball forward and run with power into the offensive penalty area. His 2 goals in the derby 2 seasons ago, that's what I want to see, says Rasmus. And I agree with that. I think that's absolutely spot on. Paul Pogba is at his best when he's driving forward. And you do that from the centre circle, not the edge of the box. Because on the edge of the box, it's congested, defence is in play. Pogba is best from the box. Pogba's best from the centre circle, because if you've got Paul Pogba on the ball in the centre circle, there's so many things he can do. He can ping a 40-yard ball into the penalty box and put it on Martial's toe or Rashford's toe. He can drive forward and run at people and make you 30 yards. Pogba is most devastatingly good from the centre circle. That's where Pogba does his damage. That's why him and Bruno will work really well, because Bruno does his from outside the penalty box. Ronan says Eric Bailly needs to start. He really doesn't. He really doesn't. I mean, that would be ridiculous to start Eric Bailly. I mean, Eric Bailly was fit before the lockdown and he wasn't first choice, so why would he be first choice now? And I would like to see Eric Bailly pushing through for the role next to Maguire, but I don't think it's his to be taken yet. Who are Liverpool and Man City's version of Pogba? Says Yaya. I don't know. I don't really like those sort of questions, to be honest with you. Everybody's an individual. And 1-0 to Inter Milan. Ericsson scorned as patient. Oh, is that in the crap Italian Cup? They've not started Serie A yet. Arsenal are in 9th, says Paul Williams, in case anybody didn't know. And I can't wait for United fan cams when you all start losing, says Bayern now. Well, as a Bayern Munich fan, you probably quite like watching Premier League football because it's relevant, interesting, and the unknown. Unlike your boring Farmers League that you just win every year because you buy up all the talent, you're the richest club, you run a game of Monopoly, and it's boring. I wouldn't even wear a Bayern Munich shirt. It's boring. It's like waking up on Groundhog Day. I mean, where's the excitement? How's about letting everybody else in the league have a chance instead of just dominating in a Farmers League? Because that's what you do. I'm not even apologising. That's what you do. Your league is crap. I watched it and pretended to enjoy it for the last 3 weeks because there was nothing else on. And I tell you what, I couldn't fake it. I tried my best to fake it. I tried my heart out to say, oh, this is interesting. Dortmund could win the league. Bayern Munich could drop points. Not with your league. You've got all the best players. The refs are dodgy. They just give you everything. It's a boring league. Come back Serie A. Come back La Liga. Come back Premier League. Come back French League. And I've always called that a Farmers League. Do you think that Pereira form in the friendlies has any influence on the starting lineup? Do you know who was the man of the match? Says Kelt Helston. Nah. I mean, did you see the Pereira goals? One of them was quite good, but one of them was a tap-it. I mean, Pereira's... It's what you do in the games. It's not what you do in friendlies. You know, we know as a community on the United Stand that the pre-season games are exciting, but ultimately it really matters when the game kicks in. Andres Pereira's fighting to get on the bench. He's not getting anywhere near the team. Firaj Shah, welcome, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And, an interesting story here about Jude Bellingham that I didn't mention as well. Apparently, Manchester United told Jude Bellingham that he'll be fighting for a first-team slot to try and get him to come to the club. And he's still going to choose Dortmund. So, I mean, it's a big L for United, Bellingham, because they wanted him. And they got Sir Alex Ferguson to meet him. They got Ollie to meet him. They showed him round Carrington, which is very impressive. They've said that you'll be fighting for a first-team place from the start. You're going to be part of the first-team setup. We don't want to loan you out. You will get game time. So we've offered him absolutely everything, and he's still chosen Dortmund. I mean, part of me wishes we'd just gone, yeah, we'll like you. We'll see where you are, and we'll loan you back to Birmingham. And he goes, yeah, I'll go to Dortmund. But no, apparently we've rolled everything out. We've tried absolutely to get everything to get him, and he's going to choose Dortmund, which is massively disappointing. Why don't United buy Sancho and Bellingham and loan Bellingham to Dortmund? Says Scott Keane. Well, I don't think. I think we've you probably didn't see the show the other night, but my answer to that is, what logic does that have when you're actually dealing? You know, we're not dealing with cattle or sheep. We're dealing with a footballer. United, who are Dortmund and United to go, oh, let us have Sancho and then we'll buy Bellingham and loan him to you? There's somebody called Jude Bellingham there and his advisors who will do what's best for them. And by the looks of it, he wants to go to Dortmund, not United via Dortmund. So these hypotheticals are always flawed because people don't realise you're dealing with people who want to do what they want to do. Scott Keane says, why don't United buy Sancho and... Yeah, I've done that one. Zane, Mark Bayern is light years ahead of Arsenal and United, regardless of their league is boring and their star striker is an ex-Gooner. Mate, it doesn't change the fact that it's a crap league. And if United were in Germany or Arsenal were in Germany, we would win the league every single year and have all the players. There's nothing great about what Bayern Munich do. They're just allowed to dominate that league, and it's a boring league. And they might win the Champions League this year. I'm not saying they're not a good team, but they have. It's like Manchester United getting all the best players from the Premier League every year. So we take Van Dijk and Salah and Mane from Liverpool. We take De Bruyne from Man City, maybe Laporte as well. Wouldn't take anything from you because you're all crap. Maybe we take Harry Kane from Spurs for the bench. That's what Bayern Munich have been doing in Germany for years. They signed players from Dortmund who are their main rival. They got Lewandowski from Dortmund. They've had Hummels. They've had Goetz. They take their biggest rivals' best players, and they've been doing that for years. It's not a decent league, and to be honest with you, if I was a Bayern Munich fan, I would be bored to my back tears. I would be bored. Because where is the competition? Oh, we've won the league again. I mean, it must be really bloody exciting when you win the league as a Bayern Munich fan. Maybe it is. I just look at it and think it's a bit of a joke. Serie A in its peak was like the Premier League now. Juve, Milan, Roma, AC Milan, Fiorentina were all winning in competitions for the title, unlike the Bundesliga, La Liga and the French Disney League, says Mojo. Marcus Rashford will be the best left winger in the world, says if Chelsea have got Ziyech and Werner, but United got Sancho and Van der Beek, it would create quite a challenge for Liverpool and Man City. Well, look, the more we're hearing is that United are not in for Van der Beek. Who said that when it first came out last Sunday? Honestly, so excited to see Rick's red-faced rage if Matic doesn't start the game against Spurs, says Joshua Bowwater. We've got Ricky on tomorrow night, Saeed and Adam on tomorrow night, so it'll be an interesting show ahead of the Spurs game on Friday. Looking forward to that tomorrow night. But on with tonight's show. How nice is it to have 3 good options for one position? Feels like we ain't had this kind of competition for a position in a while, says Sean Turner. And I think that is a very, very good point, because United recently, we've been in this scenario where we'd be talking about Pogba and Bruno, but we'd know Matic was playing because there's no other backup. And Sean's right, to have 5 players who all deserve to start, but only 3 can start. It's not ideal because we've all got our favourites. I mean, if I see Fred sat on the bench next week, there will be a part of me thinking, I can't believe he's on the bench. But then, McTominay might feel the same. Matic might feel the same if he doesn't start. I think it will be Matic, Pogba and Bruno. I think it will definitely be them 3. But, yeah, I mean, to have that strength in depth is something that we haven't had for a while. And you've got to take it as a positive. If Ollie can manage the egos, and I don't think they've got egos, but everyone gets disappointed when they don't start. If Ollie can manage that, then we're in a great position. We should play with Fred and Pogba as the holding pair. Fred has been one of the most consistent players and arguably man of the match against Spurs and Chelsea, says Niladal Sabasen. I agree. I would play Fred. I think Fred is, without a shadow of a doubt, our player of the year behind Wan-Bissaka. And I just can't see how you drop him, but I think he probably will. If we can get Sancho, name 5 other top right wing targets. No, Pete, no. I'm sure people do this on purpose. I'm not going to name Sancho alternatives because you're going to make me depressed. There are no 5 alternatives. And I said this morning. How unfair will it be on the Sancho replacement if we don't get Sancho? We could have got Sancho. Look at what you've got. Adama Traore, Wilfried Zaha. It's just not the same. It's not the same. I don't even want to think about it. Don't even give Manchester United an excuse not to do it. They've got to do this deal. Everybody knows we want Sancho. Get the deal done. If they don't get it done, it's embarrassing. It's not embarrassing. Here we go. Bayern now says Sancho must be crap then, and same with De Bruyne, Sane, Son, Ballack. If it's a crap league, we're the most properly run club in the world. No, but you're not listening, are you? You've been put in your box. I'm going to put you back in your box, and please don't come out your box because you're just making yourself look foolish. The league is crap because you're in it. It's not crap because it's got crap players in it. Sancho's a very good player. Son's a very good player. Havertz is a very good player. Werner's a very good player. Brandt's a very good player. They're all very good players, but the league has got no credibility because you hoover everything up. And you've been doing it for years. It's like Brian Clough when he went to Leeds. He said, get all your trophies, all your medals, put them in the bin, because you won them by cheating. And ultimately, I mean, look, it's not, you're not going to get points deducted cheating. That's not what we're saying. But ultimately, you play your Bundesliga like playing FIFA on a cheat code. You buy everybody's good players, and then they're not as good, and you're a load better. So your point that you're making, whilst it's true, it doesn't negate the fact that your league's a farmers league because you buy all the players and are much stronger than everybody else. And when you say we're the most properly run club in the world, well, you're not the most properly run club in the world, because in the Premier League you can't do what you do. Manchester United can't go and sign Van Dijk and Salah and De Bruyne because we've got a league that shares the money out, and we've got a league that wants to be the best league in the world and the most competitive league in the world. And whilst Liverpool are going to win it, and I've got no love for Liverpool and Liverpool have got no love for Manchester United, I know loads of Liverpool fans that would love Manchester United to be that little bit better so they could win the title against us rather than Mercenary City. And the same with, I would love to see United back up there with Arsenal, because that competition and rivalry in Liverpool matters. So, yes, the Bundesliga produces good talent. I mean, Germany were very good in the Euros and the World Cups when I was growing up. There's no doubt that there's good talent in Germany, but there's every doubt that you've got a decent league. It's a boring league. And you're only a really well-run club because you dominate your league through oppression, because you oppress everybody else in that league by buying all their players. I mean, Havertz would probably go to you. Mark, United did the same under Sir Alex, says Stephen B. Harry. Not really. No, we didn't. Not really. We didn't. No, we just didn't. Not to that extent. We bought players from the league. I mean, Wayne Rooney came from Everton. Roy Keane came from Forest. Paul Ince from West Ham, if you want to go back that far. We have bought players from within the league. But we've very rarely gone and bought Chelsea's best player, or Arsenal's best player, or Man City's best player, or Liverpool's best player. And that's what Bayern Munich do. We haven't done that. We've bought players from the lower areas of the league, like Liverpool do it with Southampton. But have Liverpool gone and got a United player, or have they gone and got a Man City player? It doesn't happen in this league. It doesn't happen in La Liga. Very rarely will Real Madrid get a Barcelona player, or Barcelona get a Real Madrid player. But in the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich will go and buy Dortmund's players, who are their best rival, their biggest rival. But they will buy their best player, and those players will go there. That tells you everything about that league. It's like it's all set up for Bayern Munich. One of the worst decisions I've seen in football in ages was this. Dortmund are playing Bayern Munich the other week. Haaland has a shot. Boateng goes down on his arm, hits his shot's going in, hits his arm, goes out for a corner. No penalty. Now, I'm not saying he did it deliberately, but he stopped a goal with his hand. It has to be a penalty. Nobody appealed. No VAR. Nothing. And I'm like, that is a bloody penalty against Bayern. And they had another soft penalty the week before that. Really, really weird league. We did Keane, Robson, Cantona, Rooney, etc., says Stephen B. Harry. Robson came from West Brom. Cantona came from Leeds because he fell out with them. Rooney came from Everton, and Roy Keane came from Nottingham Forest. Stephen, I'm telling you now, you're nowhere near. We do not do, or never have done, what Bayern Munich do in Germany. It's totally different. And I've given you the explanation. Tell me how many players we've bought from Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool and Arsenal. Spurs, big clubs, hardly ever do it because our league's very different. Rohan, sorry, you're right. We have lost our way there. Go and find your own channel, Bayern now. Mark, can United play 4-4-2 with 4 out of Fred, Matic, Pogba, Fernandes, and McSauce? Says Praveen. Well, look, only if you want to play. If you want to play a diamond, which I don't want. I don't want to see a diamond. And interestingly enough, as I said before, we struggle for what United's formation is, but 70% of the time this season we've played 4-2-3-1. So I think Ollie needs to go with that. I don't necessarily like it completely, but I think he needs to go with that. You know 100% who's winning the German League every season. You don't know who's going to win the Premier League every season, says Sean Turner. And same with the French League. Let's not just be picking on Bayern. The PSG are the same. And how highly do you rate Hannibal Mabry? And when do you think he can get a chance in the first team? And if Bellingham joins, how do you see Mabry's chances? Well, I don't think Bellingham's going to join. And what I'll say what I say with the youth players. There's a few players coming through that look really exciting. But until they're playing first team football, I think it's irrelevant what they're doing in the youth setup, other than you get excited about them. So Stephen Bihari says Berbatov, Sheringham, Carrick, Van Persie. But mate, you're talking about 30 years. Like, are you a Bayern Munich fan or are you just being an idiot? Because Berbatov was 10 years ago from Spurs, who at that time were not a top 6 club. Sheringham the same, 20 years ago. They weren't a top 6 club. Carrick, again, they were around sort of 5th. And Van Persie from Arsenal was a once in a lifetime thing. I mean, that I know we did Sanchez again, but we don't. It's not. You're not. I'm wondering. You're pulling me into something here, and you're trying to take us into a track that's not. I don't even think you're a Manchester United fan, because if you are comparing Manchester United to Bayern Munich, you're a fool. Bayern Munich have won loads of titles by dominating their league, by buying all the talent. For United to do that, we would have to buy consistently, year in, year out, Liverpool and Man City players, and Chelsea players, and Spurs players, and Arsenal players, and we don't do that. So you cannot compare any Premier League club to the way that Bayern Munich do things in Germany. And that's my point, and that's why I'm right. So you can get your Wikipedia page, and you can pull out players over the last 30 years, but it's not the same. Like Jacob says, the main thing is United or any other club in the Premier League consistently don't do it, whereas Bayern Munich do it. I mean, Bayern Munich are meant to be after Havertz now, aren't they? Leverkusen's best player, another team in the top 4. You go through, I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but you can go through Bayern Munich over the last 20 years and you could do virtually a player every year that they take from somebody else. Their league is not as strong as the Premier League, says Michael Jones. No, it isn't. Although, to be fair, they have wiped the arse of Spurs, and the biggest. To be fair to Bayern Munich, the biggest team in North London is Bayern Munich, because they've smashed Arsenal and Spurs in recent years. I'll give them that. Doesn't matter if Ollie starts Fred or Matic or McTominay, he will be rotating because there's so many games in the short space of time, says Lee Ingham, and that's a great point as well, Lee. 100% that will be the case. They will rotate. And if Pogba starts, he won't play 90 minutes. And Sean from Ireland says, Pogba won't start, but with 5 subs and match fitness, does it matter? He'll be on after an hour, and what a big player to bring in that stage. Yeah, and I think as well, I tweeted this the other night, and I think everyone needs to expect it. Please smash a like on the video if you're watching. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Interesting show tonight, but always... this is football, it's passionate, that's what we want. Bayern team equals the Germany team, says Mojo. Well, I don't know about that now at the moment. I don't know about that. But what Sean from Ireland said is very true. You've got this situation at Manchester United and in the Premier League in general where nobody's had a pre-season. Like Mourinho, they played Norwich, Spurs, they're not having another game. So nobody's had a pre-season. And I don't know whether you watched Juventus last night. I watched the highlights. I don't know whether you watched the first round of the Bundesliga games. Crap. Absolutely crap. Slow, bad touch, tired players. Anybody who thinks we're going to see good football in the first 2 rounds of Premier League games are in for a shock. It's going to be interesting and exciting, but it's not going to be top tier football because these players are just, they cannot be fit. So Sean from Ireland's right. The amount of subs we can make, 5, is hard. You can change half your team at any point in 90 minutes. So we will see. If Fred doesn't start, we'll see Fred after about an hour anyway. If McTominay doesn't start, we'll see McTominay after an hour. Because why wouldn't you do that? I think any manager, when they've got 5 good midfielders, doesn't matter how well anybody's playing, they'll change 2 of them because you've got fresh, hungry legs. You imagine you've got Matic who's had a good hour and he's playing really well, but you know you've got Fred and McTominay biting at the bit to get on there and prove themselves. You'll make the change even though Matic might be playing really well. So we will see them, and then we might see them start against Sheffield United as well. Because Sheffield United, I think, will beat Sheffield United because Sheffield United are going to play 3 games, I think. I think they play Wednesday. Well, they do play Wednesday against Villa. Then I think they play at the weekend. Then I think they're playing midweek. So they've got a game. They'll have played 3 games when we'll have only played 2. So I think there's massive opportunities. Mark, any updates of getting into the studio? Was a tease getting to see it just before the lockdown started, says Joshua Bowwater. Yeah, well, we could go to the studio. And I know some people are using studios. But me and Flex had a chat about this. And we were just like, well, ultimately, do we need to be in the studio when we could still be doing self-isolating studio stuff that we do. So we just made a responsible decision, really, that we don't want to go into the studio as much as we do, because, you know, you could spread it, you could take it home, one of us could have it and we don't know it. So we're both of us a mindset, responsible or not, people might say it's idiotic, that why go and do something you don't need to do when we can carry on doing what we're doing. And we have got fan cams coming in next Friday night. 100 fan cams with Flex and the fan cammers. You can probably put 2 and 2 together as to how we're going to do it, but the fan cams will be running the same as they've always run, which we're really excited about next Friday night. Do you think going to uphold the City ban from the Champions League, says Daryl Hammond? I thought that legal case started last week, but I've not heard anything about it. It's a 2-year ban, and I think that part of me hopes that it's a 1-year ban, but they could end up getting away with it altogether. Anyway, thanks for watching. It's Saturday night film night for me. I don't know what you're going to watch. Don't know what you're going to do. But Quantum of Solace is on ITV. You can get it on iPlayer. You can watch it on Amazon. So I'm going to watch that. I watched Casino Royale last week, which is James Bond. I've only seen it. I haven't seen it in over a decade, and I bloody loved it. So I thought Quantum of Solace is on this week. I know it's not as good, but I'm going to have another Bond night. So it's Bond night for me tonight. Although I watched Tombstone last week. I tell you what, if you've never seen Tombstone, watch it. Kurt Russell, bloody brilliant film. But whatever you're doing, enjoy your Saturday night. I'll be back in the morning tomorrow. Barcelona game at 9 o'clock. If you want to watch that, Daniel Garcia, that's a good idea. Playing Mallorca. I'll keep an eye on that. I'm back tomorrow in the morning, 10:30 live, Man United news and transfer news. Normally an interesting show because you get the Sunday morning papers who have different things to say. Welcome to Muzzy Ali, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And obviously tomorrow night's going to be very good at 8 o'clock with Ricky and Adam and Saeed. So I'll speak to you soon. Have a good Saturday evening. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for all your opinions, even Bayern now and Zane. And thanks everyone. Goldbridge to be the next Bond. I'd love it. Goldbridge. That could, forget Goldfinger. It could be Goldbridge. I could be a villain. I don't need to be James Bond. They could just call it Goldbridge instead of Goldfinger. And here I am in my lair, where I'm like trying to take over the world. It'd be great. Oh look, I've just missed Bayern's last super chat. He said, we're not gonna set up a Bayern Munich channel. When you've got some viewers, I'll come on and we'll talk about that. But this is a Manchester United channel. Thank you very much for your contributions. Thank you very much, everybody. And I'll see you tomorrow.